As I had said earlier, today it probably seems like week 36 of this sermon series, my bad church experience. But again, I promise you that before this year's, or the next couple of weeks, we will finish up. But we've been looking at, over the summer, some of what I hope are common bad church experiences. And we're doing that so that we will be more cautious or more attentive and to maybe not repeat those to those in our community. And I hope and pray that by now, in this week, that you realize that most of our bad church experiences are really just human experiences that we kind of bring into a faith community. It's not nothing wrong with the faith community. It's just who we are as humans, and we bring them in. And for today, my bad church experience actually happened when I toured with a Southern Gospel quartet called the Praise Minute. Now, my father loved that style of music, and it was a very meaningful time that I got to spend with him, as he loved riding the tour bus with us, and he would go with us, and he would help by selling our merchandise and CDs and T-shirts and stuff. And it was a great, literally a great, cherished father-son time I had with him. But it was filled with bad church experiences, or bad worship church experiences. And typically, if it was on a Sunday, we would arrive in a town, and we would play one or two songs during their worship service. And then after the worship service, there would be a luncheon or a potluck or something where the whole crowd would go in and eat. And then they would come back into the sanctuary after the eating, and we would play a full concert. Where we come from in the South, we were called homecomings, I think, for the churches. But one Sunday, after we played our two service songs, me and another guy in our group snuck out and went back to the bus, as we didn't want to sit through the worship service. And as we thought we were sneaking out nonchalantly and non-noticeably, there was a greeter in the back that kind of, deacon, I don't know what he was, but he was in the back. He kind of watched us and kind of followed us out through the hallways and kind of watched us as we went out the door and as we were getting back on the bus. He was watching the parking lot. Then we noticed, before we stopped and looked around, we noticed a kind of raggedy-looking man, kind of unkempt, kind of life, you could just tell, it just kind of worn this guy out. And we noticed him walking up and beginning a conversation with this greeter guy or whatever. And they for about 2 or 3 minutes or 4 or 5 minutes, they had this conversation. And then we watched curiously as what we assumed is they bowed their head and prayed. They then walked back into the church. We had to follow to see what was going on. And this greeter walked the man right up the front right up the front aisle of the church, right up to the chancel. And he began to inform the congregation that this guy was outside, the greeter said he was outside keeping watch, over the parking lot. And he noticed that this man began to break into a car. That's not true. We were there. And then he said that he stopped this gentleman from breaking into the car. And then he started up a conversation with him. And then he began to share him the love of Jesus Christ. And then he proceeded to convince this man that he needed to give his life to Jesus Christ. And I was standing in the back, just totally shocked, because that was not what happened. And the minister began to praise the greeter. And then the whole congregation prayed for this man. And then the minister said something that totally blew my mind. As if this wasn't enough already. He said to the gentleman he just prayed for, that just gave his life to Jesus, he says, you know what? You cannot be a member of this congregation. But there's another church down the street. The minister said, I'll be more than happy to walk you down there. What? I mean, I could not believe what I just witnessed. Because as people filed out of the sanctuary, they began to shake and hug and praise this greeter guy. And I wanted to jump up and down and scream, "It's all a sham! You're busted, greeter dude! You are a liar! We were out there! You were watching us, remember? We saw everything that happened. Liar, liar, pants on fire! You are busted!" That's what I wanted to say. But I really just went and drowned my frustrations in some fried chicken and potatoes out there. And I'm not sure why this guy had to say that the guy was breaking into cars. I don't know if he was trying to condemn him, but he wasn't. And I don't know why he made that up. It may have been that maybe some of us deep down all like to catch people doing something wrong. I mean, we all like to catch people doing something wrong. I mean, we like the thrill of the catch. And it's not a church tendency. Again, it's a human tendency. I mean, don't we? Even as little school kids, I mean, we love to tattle on the kid, which was usually me, that broke the rules when the teacher went out of the room. We like that. And there are people that were more concerned, and we're watching closely, always waiting for someone to make a mistake in churches and even in the early church. And so the Apostle Paul saw this, and he writes a letter that would be read aloud to address what someone should do when they catch someone doing something wrong. And as this letter was being read, I can just see with anticipation the faces on those people that were sitting there, those ones that love to catch someone doing something wrong. You see, it wasn't the fact that they caught someone doing something wrong. It was how they caught them. You see, it was evident that these catchers, if you will, cared more about exposing the bad behavior than they cared about the individual. It's because they put a strong emphasis on these strict set of laws, as I said before. And they believed strongly that you had to follow these laws to be right with God. And they watched each other like hawks, waiting for someone to just break one of the laws so that they could condemn them. And they cared more about the behavior or the law being broken, about hands being cleaned right or wrong, than they did about the individual. And sometimes that can turn people off to a faith community. So we read the letter in the 6th chapter of Galatians that Paul writes to these people who have been catching people breaking the law. We mean religious law here, not government law. He says, brothers and sisters, chapter 1, verse 6 of Galatians. He says, brothers and sisters, someone is caught in a sin. You who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. Paul says that those of you that live by the Spirit of Jesus, those of you who publicly confess that you are a follower of Jesus, Paul says, those of you who live by the Spirit, if that is you, when people mess up, restore them gently. Don't condemn them. I mean, when people feel condemned, that is so painful. Paul says, look, the people of Jesus' community are about restoration, not about condemnation. We're not here to put people down. We're here to restore. And that's so powerful. I mean, it changes people's lives forever. You know, words that we can use can both have positive and negative meanings. And like the word bill, for example. I mean, one is positive if it's a bill that has 3 digits on it and a president's picture. I mean, that's a good thing. But a bill means something totally different if it comes in the mail and has handwritten on it. Correct? I mean, the word fixed. The word fixed means something positive when you use it to describe to something that is broken, that is restored. It's been fixed. But the word fixed means something totally different when you use it when you're talking about your dogs. That'll sink in. It's not so positive. And I think that's what's happening here in the caught word. I mean, it means snared. It means entrapped. It's like a fish that's caught in a net. But it also can mean something totally different. I mean, if someone catches you or you're caught from falling or stumbling. Here, caught means saved. It means like being caught by a safety net. It's the same word, but the two meanings are hugely different. And I think Paul here is using the latter. I know he's using the latter. He says a faith community should be a place where people are not caught or snared, but caught from doing harm to themselves. No, it doesn't mean we condone bad behavior at all. It's just when people stumble and fall, we should be a place where people are caught so they don't destroy themselves any further or others around them. So here's what Paul means when he says, when you catch him. Verse 2. Paul says, when you catch them, carry each other's burdens. And in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. He says when you catch them, not catch them, when you catch them, then you carry their burdens. Catch and you carry. And as a follower of Jesus Christ, you're not going to catch them and then condemn them. Catch them and carry them. And this is just a much better way. I mean, look, the world in which we live in, the society in which we live in general, will be more condemning than we could ever be as a faith community. The person who has done the wrong, I promise you, will be more condemning of themselves than a faith community could ever be. Because we are in the restoration business, whether you like it or not. I humbly witnessed many of you step forward this week and put some reality and reverence around the gospel of Jesus Christ. You power washed, you painted, you built wheelchair ramps, you climbed ladders, you fixed houses, and you repaired hearts of people in our community who needed restoration. And some of you served those that were serving by making pillows and making sandwiches and seeing that everything behind the scenes was being done so others could work. Many of you, all of you, have prayed for a safe week and that it would be transforming for our own faith community, but our community as well. And as I drove around the town, during work camp, you kind of take more notice of people's homes, if you will, than you do when you're just going from one place to another. And I noticed there were homes that should have been condemned. There was many homes that I think we would all agree should be condemned, and the best thing would be to just bulldoze it down. But you step forward and say, no, let's try to restore it. Let's not just knock it down. Let us restore it. And I've never been so honored and humbled to see you show that love of Jesus Christ in the most gracious and compassionate and enthusiastic way. To see you be the light of Jesus Christ in our dark community was a beautiful thing. Because to see it, but what made it even more special, most of you didn't even know the spiritual catching you were doing during the week. So let's continue to catch and carry. Let us show them that we care about them. And just by your actions, you thought you were repairing or restoring a home, but you were restoring a home in people who others, neighbors, may have condemned. And you will never know how powerful that is. To illustrate to someone, a stranger you don't even know, I will catch you. I will carry you. I will walk with you with your burdens. Like it or not, for better or for worse, we are now known by those around us in our community as a faith community that catches and carries, not catches and condemns. We will be known as a group of people who live by the Spirit of Christ. That is the thrill one we should all continue to seek out.